Hey everybody, Nick Espinosa, your chief security fanatic here, and it is Sunday, so we are doing breaches of the week as always. And as always, I want to start with those that sent me a lot of this, which quite frankly wasn't a lot this week. When I went looking, there was just one big one that was going to be talking about, and we're going to hit that one right out of the gate because it's not the most interesting of the week. But thank you very much to Nolan Jackson, Jake Harder, Sue Corden, and James Fontenue. I really appreciate it. And with that, let's start with what is probably, in terms of records, the biggest one, and that would be the Utah-based benefits administrator, Health Equity. Now, they disclosed this data breach, basically that apparently occurred on March 9th of over 4 million people, and they filed with Maine on June 20, or rather later, because they discovered this on June 26th. Now, in the notice to customers that is scheduled to be sent out on August 9th, they stated that the affected data primarily consisted of sign-in or sign-up information for the accounts and benefits that it actually administers. However, Health Equity did say that not all data categories were affected for every person. And the categories we're talking about are last name, addresses, telephone numbers, employee IDs, employers, social security numbers, dependent information, and payment card information as well. So obviously not a good look. And so with that, let's move on and talk about a company called Qualtrics, because they filed with Montana after discovering that confidential information belonging to certain Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Carolina members was leaked following a cyber attack. So in other words, they're a third-party provider for Blue Cross Blue Shield, at least in North Carolina. Now, in this notice, they explained that this incident resulted in an unauthorized party gaining access to sensitive information, and I'm sure you know what it is: names, email addresses, demographic information, health insurance information, and on and on. Qualtrics is now sending out notifications as well. And with that, let's move on to probably our biggest segment this week, because there just wasn't a lot of breaches this week, at least none that were reported. And let's talk about those that are getting sued. And if they just spent money on cybersecurity, they wouldn't be ruining their reputations, they wouldn't be getting sued, and I definitely wouldn't be talking about them. And with that, let's start with CashApp. And many of you listening or watching this probably use them because they found themselves in the middle of a class action settlement, with the plaintiffs arguing that they didn't do enough to protect basically their customers' data between 2022 and 2023. Now, the goal of this case, which is known as Selena et al. V. Block Inc., owner of CashApp, is basically to seek compensation for those whose details were illegally accessed by third parties as a result of this breach, including lost money via fraudulent transactions. Now, CashApp has denied any wrongdoing, but they've agreed to pay out $15 million to customers that were affected. So if you were affected by the CashApp data breach, go get paid like $20 or whatever it's going to be. Moving on, let's talk about Neiman Marcus, the high-end retailer. Neiman Marcus Group LLC failed to protect the personal information of about 31 million customers that was exposed in a May data breach, thanks to cloud service providers Snowflake. Now, you might remember me talking about Snowflake quite a bit because Ticketmaster got caught up in that, AutoZone, a whole bunch of large corporations were using Snowflake security. AT&T recently released, and so Neiman Marcus is one of several that have been released and are now getting sued. And so by virtue of that, basically the plaintiffs are alleging that Neiman Marcus and Snowflake, who is a co-defendant in this, breached their duties to use reasonable technical and administrative safeguards to protect sensitive data. Now, here's the interesting part about this one is that I think what's going to shake out in court, because courts run on evidence, is they're going to look at Neiman Marcus and how Neiman Marcus basically secured their infrastructure versus Snowflake. In other words, Neiman Marcus may have checked every box for compliance, every box for security. Snowflake didn't. That's the back end, and maybe they got into the back end, which may actually absolve Neiman Marcus and possibly other organizations that may be caught up in this Snowflake breach. In other words, it's not us, it's Snowflake. And part of using a cloud service provider is to transfer risk to that third party. So providing you are properly securing the front end and you're using the security controls that Snowflake gives you, the rest is on Snowflake. In the same way it would be if Microsoft, if you're checking all the boxes and using all the security controls and Microsoft gets breached on the back end, it's kind of not your fault. So we're going to see where that goes, but I think it's really going to be interesting. And moving on, this is going to be a big one. LastPass. If you remember, that was a disastrous data breach a while back. Now, LastPass USA must face a proposed class action alleging that it failed to protect the personal information of millions of people, basically during that August of 2022 data breach. And here we are. Now, the company obviously provides password identity management services, et cetera, failed to implement adequate data security practices and left its systems vulnerable to brute force attacks capable of overcoming the level of encryption that they were running. In other words, they were doing it old school in your vault and very easily crackable, and then they started moving to the standardization that their competitors were using, but not a good look as well. LastPass, for the record, is used by more than 33 million individuals and 100,000 businesses around the world. So this is going to get nasty pretty quick. But quite frankly, most people that are in the know aren't using LastPass anymore. Moving on, Futurity First Insurance Group, they failed to protect thousands of people's personal information that was exposed in November of 2023 during a data breach, according to their proposed federal class action. Now, Conchetta C. Verderame alleged that Futurity First breached its duties under common law and the Federal Trade Commission Act to basically protect sensitive information. And we're talking what you'd think: names, address, dates of birth, social security, federal ID numbers, state ID numbers, et cetera, financial information. So obviously not a good look for Futurity First Insurance. We'll see where that goes. Moving on, MarineMax, that's the nationwide boat and yacht dealer. They essentially failed to protect the personal information of about 123,000 people that were exposed in a March data breach, according to their proposed class action in federal court. Now, Sandro Lomadico alleged that MarineMax breached its duties under, once again, Federal Trade Commission Act and common law, and essentially did not secure anything. And we're talking names, driver's license, and social security numbers, as well as more. And so if you've bought a boat or yacht from MarineMax, you may also get paid. And so those were the breaches, or rather the lawsuits against the breaches that were happening this week. And if any of them had just really actually spent on cybersecurity and drank the Kool-Aid, we definitely wouldn't be talking about them here. Moving on, back to regular breaches, let's go back on an update basically in Northern Ireland, because their education minister is now speaking. Now, he has unreservedly apologized after the personal details of more than 400 individuals who had offered to contribute to a review of special education needs were breached. Now, this embarrassing data breach came to light this past Thursday or so, or I'm sorry, a week ago Thursday, after the education department said that it mistakenly sent to 174 people a spreadsheet basically that had an attached names, email addresses, and titles of 407 individuals who had expressed interest in attending this review of special education needs in Northern Ireland. So while it's not a small breach, Northern Ireland is a pretty small country in the UK, and so they're not happy about this. And so the education minister is now apologizing. Moving on, let's talk about HairClub for Men. I remember their commercials back in the day. I'm Sty Sperling. I'm not just a HairClub president, I'm also a client. Now, on July 24th, HairClub for Men filed with California after discovering that an unauthorized party was able to access portions of their network. Now, in this notice, HairClub explained that the incident resulted in an unauthorized party being able to access consumer-sensitive information. We're talking names, social security numbers, driver's license numbers, financial account information, and medical information. And HairClub for Men is now sending out notices as well. And now that I think about it, HairClub for Men probably would fall under being a medical facility, since they are doing medical treatments to hair. I mean, implanting hair would be a medical procedure, right? So yeah, they're probably going to have to disclose with HIPAA already if they haven't done so right now. So we'll see where that goes. But again, I remember the commercials from when I was a kid, and hopefully I'm never going to have to be a client. Moving on. Brownell Travel on July 30th, they filed with California after an unknown actor gained access to their systems. And we're talking about the basically consumer sensitive information that you would store if you're going to a travel agency. They are not listing that out, but they are sending notices to those affected. So if you're going to get your vacation on and you use Brownell Travel Services, you definitely want to check in. Moving on, let's head to the other side of the country and talk about New Jersey City University. They are notifying students of a ransomware attack that may have compromised personal, sensitive, and financial information as well. University officials confirmed the cyber attack occurred between June 4th through the 10th, but only are notifying students and staff. In other words, everybody's off for the summer, so a lot of it just wasn't on the radar. Now, in a statement on their website, Officials said, quote, the types of information that could be affected by vary by individuals, but we're talking name, social security, driver's license, financial account information, and credit card information as well. So heads up to you if you're staff or faculty over at New Jersey City University, and students too should probably be aware. Moving on, Coastal Plains Community MHMR Center. Medical health, medical recovery, medical health, medical record. Not sure what MHMR is, but either way, on July 30th, they filed with Maine, and you know where this is going, unauthorized access to their systems, names, dates of birth, social security, driver's license, passport, medical, health insurance information, and financial account information. Coastal Plains is sending letters out as well. And if you use Coastal Plains Community MHMR Center, please let me know what MHMR is. I don't know why you'd put medical in that twice, so maybe I don't know. Moving on. United of Omaha, aka Mutual of Omaha, yes, the large insurance provider. Now they're notifying customers that their personal information, including names, social security numbers, contact addresses, dates of birth, driver's license, employment information, and health information may have been stolen. I actually do not have particulars on this yet, but I did find this on a basically like a legal website saying, hey, we're investigating this. In other words, the class actions are already forming because, well, that's what happens these days. And so heads up if you use United of Omaha, aka Mutual of Omaha, for all your Omaha or Mutual or United or insurance needs. Moving on, and this is our finally, like I said, it was a shorter week. We actually have a data breach revolving around the Olympics, those that are going on in Paris right now in France. And here's what's going on, and this is never fun, but the sensitive data of several Israeli athletes in the Paris Olympic Games was published on Telegram in an alleged doxing attack this past Friday. Now, this information includes blood test results and login credentials that required France's Anti-Cybercrime Office, or the OFAC, to seek removal of the data after it was first reported. Now, a hacking group known as Zeus, likely a nod to the game's Greek origins, is allegedly responsible and also purportedly leaking the military status of Israeli athletes on social media as well, and was doing so a day prior to announcing essentially this hack. Quote, there are those who seek to harm the festivities of this joyous event. That's according to Israeli Foreign Minister Israel Katz in a letter basically sent to his French counterpart. Now, both Israeli and Palestinian delegations at the Olympics have been provided with extra protection and security due to the ongoing conflict in Gaza and the surrounding area within the Israeli and Palestinian borders. And so obviously that is a horrific situation in and of itself. Roughly 18,000 French troops, for the record, are in Paris to help secure the games. In addition to the city's regular police, Israel's 88 athletes have been assigned security details made up of both French officers and Israeli agents to protect them as well. I do not know the status of or the security precautions taken around the Palestinians, but they have heightened security as well. So obviously this is an absolute complete mess. I don't care what you think about the Israel, Palestine, Israel, Gaza, Israel, Hamas situation, who you support or whatever. The point is that we all have a right to privacy. And so I don't care if it's the Israeli athletes, the Palestinian athletes, or, the Botswanian athletes that are getting hit. Nobody should. And so by virtue of that, I hope the games remain safe. I hope the games remain fun. But we know that, like every games, they are susceptible to phishing attacks, cyber attack, et cetera, et cetera. And in this politically charged time, it's kind of unavoidable. So with that, I hope you're enjoying the Olympics. Those are your breaches of the week. I'm glad it was a shorter week. I wish every week was shorter, to be perfectly honest, but we'll keep moving on. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP. And please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe, stay online, and please, time to stay private. Thanks, everybody.